Live from ABC7, this is Eyewitness News on LA56.
Wild weather storms through parts of Southern California, bringing everything from heavy rain to lightning, even hail.
We believe he was a martyr. A martyr for freedom.
The parents of slain journalist James Foley speak out as we learn the U.S. military launched a secret rescue operation for him and others.
And
stop pointing it! Put your gun down!
And a Missouri police officer suspended for pointing his weapon at protesters and threatening to kill them. Good evening. I'm Giovanna Lotta in for Colleen Sullivan.
Now, David Ona, welcome to Eyewitness News on LA56. We begin with our wild summer storm. Meteorologist Jonathan Novak will be here in a moment with what's next. We begin with Inland Empire Bureau Chief Rob McMillan and the sights and sounds of today's powerful storm.
This late summer thunderstorm hit parts of the Inland Empire hard this afternoon, with flooding on several streets around the area. The storm was punctuated by a number of lightning strikes and loud rumbling thunder. The driver of this SUV lost control in the wet conditions, slamming into a fire hydrant, causing a towering geyser of water to go shooting into the air.
I just started taking the curve, and my car wasn't turning like I wanted it to, and it hit the fire hydrant and kept going. Stopped right there.
But you're okay.
Oh, I'm great, yeah. I'm fabulous.
Then there was this tree in Riverside. The bark split by a bolt of lightning.
I saw the flash first, and it was just absolutely, I've never seen anything like that. It made me drop to the floor.
My wife hollered for me, and she sounded really scared, so I went over there to that room, and she said the entire room lit up red.
Things have calmed down a little bit late this afternoon, but residents will sure be talking about this storm for a while.
Unbelievable. First time I'd ever had that happen. I've never seen anything like it before. But it was loud.
From looking at the top of the tree, you can see a shade of black. Residents say that was not there before the lightning bolt. Halfway down, you can see an eyeball. That was part of a decorative face that was on the tree before the lightning bolt. This is all that's left of it, these ceramic particles. So just one idea of the power of a lightning strike. In Riverside, Rob McMillan, ABC7 Eyewitness News.
well, where is the storm right now? Here's Jonathan Novak with that. Jonathan.
Yeah, it looks like things, thankfully, folks, are calming down for tonight. All that moisture now off to the east, and anything over our area and the mountainous areas has since, we could say, fizzled out. And we are looking at a calmer evening. The last of the shower activity, the storm activity, a little lightning just south of Victorville as it headed to the north. It died off. So for tonight, I'm going to keep things dry. There's a slim chance for a sprinkle in that area over to the east around the mountains and the high desert. But really, I think we're going to have a good evening overall. Temperatures are looking like this. We're in the mid-70s in Burbank, upper 60s Santa Monica, 75 Fullerton. So how's tomorrow shaping up? Do we have the same storm activity possibility in store? Well, potentially, all right? We have that risk in there in the mountain areas. But for L.A., I'm going to keep it dry. 80 by noon, still cool. We're in this really cool pattern. Will it warm up, and how long do those rain chances last in the 7-day forecast? The details are coming up in a few. Stick around for it.
All right, Jonathan, thank you.
And you can use the free ABC7 Mega Doppler weather app to track these storms. Download it from the iTunes App Store or Google Play.
Major new developments one day after the savage murder of a U.S. journalist by ISIS terrorists. The parents of James Foley shared their grief and their wishes today. Plus, we're getting news of a mission to rescue all Americans held captive by ISIS. And Eyewitness News reporter Alex Michelson is live at our satellite center with the complete details. Alex.
David, we learned that several dozen U.S. Special Forces were part of that rescue attempt. It was based off of intelligence that turned out to be bad intelligence. Tonight, the U.S. military is plotting its next move against ISIS, while Foley's family begins the tough process of mourning.
One day after the horrific video of American journalist James Foley being beheaded was released by ISIS, Foley's family spoke out to the media in front of their New Hampshire home.
He was strong, courageous, loving to the end. I mean, we just hardly recognized our little boy. I mean, he was just a hero.
And you know from the videos, his last words were, "I wish I had more time to see my family."
Foley's parents were asked if they thought that the U.S. had done enough to rescue their son.
What we've been doing to date has not been
It wasn't enough. And
Didn't
yes,
save Jimmy.
nice.
Late tonight, we learned that President Obama had authorized a mission to rescue James Foley and other captured journalists, but when the U.S. military arrived, the journalists were nowhere to be found. Earlier today, the president paid tribute to Foley.
Jim was taken from us in an act of violence that shocks the conscience of the entire world.
Tonight, officials are analyzing the images of Jim's executioner. They're using a database of known jihadists to look for a match with his eyes, his hands, and most telling, his voice. British authorities say he has a distinct British accent.
You have plotted against us and gone far out of your way to find reasons to interfere in our affairs.
What we must do is redouble all our efforts to arrest and prosecute those that take part in this extremism and violence.
U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry simply tweeted out, quote, ISIL must be destroyed, will be crushed. Meanwhile, back in New Hampshire, Foley's family are asking all Americans for prayers.
We need the courage and the prayers now to continue without him. Because he was an inspiration for us and for so many others. So we miss his courage, his love, his determination, his laugh, his smile.
He brought so much joy into this family.
You got to feel for that family. Now, in that video that Foley was killed in, ISIS threatens to kill another American journalist, Steven Sotloff. They said to President Obama that if he did not stop bombings in Iraq, that Sotloff would be killed. Well, today, those bombings in Iraq continued. No word on Sotloff's condition. Reporting live from the Satellite Center, Alex Michelson, ABC7. Eyewitness News.
It is heartbreaking, Alex. Thank you for that report. Meantime, on the battlefield in northern Iraq, U.S. warplanes are pounding ISIS positions and military hardware. They're getting strong support on the ground from Kurdish and Iraqi forces, which are now better armed. The U.S. launched more than a dozen airstrikes today using both warplanes and drones. The U.S. is using a combination of fighter jets and drones, and depending on how the new campaign works out, the administration is not ruling out a larger military operation.
U.S. Attorney General Eric Holder arrived in Ferguson, Missouri today and told residents he has put the Justice Department's most experienced agents and prosecutors on the Michael Brown shooting. With more on that and other developments in the case, we go live to reporter Taman Bradley in Ferguson. Taman.
Giovanna, good evening. Major developments here today. The Attorney General of the United States came to check on the shooting investigation, and a grand jury convened.
Today, behind closed doors, 12 grand jurors began reviewing evidence in the shooting death of Michael Brown. They'll decide the fate of Darren Wilson, the Ferguson police officer who shot and killed the unarmed teen.
We'll have absolutely everything that there is, every piece of paper, every photograph, every bit of physical evidence.
But the prosecuting attorney doesn't expect a decision from the grand jury, which meets only once a week, until mid-October.
Arrest Darren Wilson! Arrest Darren Wilson!
These demonstrators on the streets of Ferguson want to see Wilson arrested immediately. The police union says it's too soon to pass judgment on Officer Wilson.
He has been vilified in the media and by the politicians.
A source close to Wilson told ABC News that before the shooting, the patrolman suffered a serious facial injury, and this new video could be a key to Wilson's defense. A witness is heard saying he saw Brown shot as the teen walked towards Wilson.
Police got out and ran after him. The next thing I know, he coming back towards me. Police had his gun gone already.
Other witnesses have said Brown was moving away from the officer and then turned to face Wilson with his hands up. Attorney General Eric Holder is closely monitoring the investigation. He traveled to Ferguson for meetings with local officials and residents.
Hope also is that through the trip that I'm making out here today, that hopefully will have a calming influence on the area.
Everyone here is bracing for another late night of demonstrations, but there's rain in the area. The bad weather could potentially slow down the overnight protests. Live in Ferguson, Taman Bradley, ABC7 Eyewitness News.
And Taman, there's a new video that came out tonight that probably won't help ease tensions. Tell us about it.
Oh, that's exactly right. This video probably won't help at all. It is cell phone video of the police shooting in nearby St. Louis yesterday. A man, the police say, was wielding a knife, running towards them, was shot and killed as people were around who witnessed that. But the video is a little bit cloudy, but it doesn't really show that knife. So that is obviously a video that is not going to help to ease tensions here.
All right, come on, Bradley, thank you so much for that report. In the meantime, more video to talk about when it comes to what's happening out there in Missouri. We learned today that one of the police officers patrolling Ferguson has been relieved of duty and suspended indefinitely. This after the officer with the nearby St. Anne Police Department was videotaped pointing a semi-automatic assault rifle at peaceful protesters and then threatening to kill civilians while cursing at them.
My hands are up, bro. My hands are up. Hands up. Raise and pointed at civilians. Hands up. Get back. Hands up. Get back. You're gonna kill him. He's trying to kill him. He's trying to get back. What's your name, sir? Your name's go yourself, all right? Go yourself. Thank you, sir. Hello, officer. Go yourself. Put your gun down. Get back. What are you doing? Stop pointing it. Put your gun down! Hungry! Stand down! Put that gun away! What's his name? Put that gun away! I want it! Put that gun away!
Well, that officer has not been identified, but again, he is with St. Anne Police, not Ferguson PD, and has been suspended indefinitely.
Wow. The CHP officer caught on cell phone camera punching a woman has been relieved of duties and could face, quote, potentially serious charges. That's the result of a CHP use of force investigation presented to the DA's office. The video showed Daniel Andrew repeatedly hitting Marlene Pinnock after spotting her walking along the 10 freeway last month. The CHP is not disclosing details of its findings, but a written statement says the results outline those potential charges and also say that Andrew has in effect been taken off the job but is still being paid. We will have much more on Eyewitness News on LA56 at 8:30.
The LA City Council voted to pay $5 million to the family of an unarmed, disabled man killed by police in a shooting that unfolded on live TV. 51-year-old Brian Beard led police on a nearly hour-long chase after officers tried to pull him over for reckless driving. The National Guard veteran's Corvette crashed into a downtown LA intersection, seriously injuring another driver. Beard's father watched on live TV as his son staggered out of the car and then was shot several times.
Up next here at 8, crooks in the cloud. Authorities want to speak to two people seen here in a selfie that strangely appeared on one woman's account after her house was burglarized.
Plus, a possible Ebola scare here in California tonight, where a patient is being kept in isolation. And this story.
A Golden Gate sideshow stopped traffic on the bridge. Now, where's the driver? Police in Santa Clarita want to question two people who showed up in selfies after a home had been burglarized. Authorities say on July 30th, the victim reported returning home to find her front door unlocked and her residence ransacked. Days later, the victim accessed her cloud account and noticed two selfies featuring two people she didn't know. The photos were uploaded to the account after the burglary happened.
I have not seen a case like this. But, you know, as social media progresses, as cloud accounts progresses, I would expect that we're going to see more, you know, crimes and more incidents like this.
If you have any idea who these people are, you're asked to call LA Crime Stoppers at 1-800-222-TIP.
Well, the LA County DA has charged two teenagers for allegedly planning to carry out a massacre at South Pasadena High School. The 16 and 17-year-old boys are each facing one count of making a criminal threat. They have been charged as juveniles. Prosecutors say the teens allegedly shared their plans with another teen and threatened to kill that teen as well. Today, the stepfather of one of the suspects spoke out.
My wife and I would like to apologize to the whole community, every student, every parent, every faculty, that we do not condone any kind of behavior.
There will be extra security at all South Pasadena schools when classes start tomorrow.
In court today, a teenager accused of opening fire at his Kern County High School last year. 17-year-old Brian Oliver has been charged as an adult with 2 counts of attempted murder and 3 counts of assault with a firearm. The judge ruled today Oliver will remain at a juvenile detention center even after turning 18 next week.
He's a child. He's bewildered. He's the victim of pervasive, unending bullying.
One student was shot but survived. The shooting happened just minutes after the school had gone over new lockdown safety procedures in the wake of the Newtown, Connecticut school shooting. Oliver is set to go on trial next month.
Caught on video, a dangerous and illegal stunt that brought traffic to a halt on San Francisco's Golden Gate Bridge. This was posted on Instagram, and you could see what looks like some type of Camaro doing donuts on the bridge as stalled cars honk. The CHP is reportedly investigating the incident and trying to identify the driver. That is something that would just make me furious as I'm trying to get somewhere.
Do not try that.
Yeah.
That's not a good
Anywhere.
idea.
At home or not at home.
That's right.
Anywhere.
And Jonathan, we've got some stormy weather you're watching.
We told you we'd have some storms, so possibly over the mountain areas, and we did. Some heavy rain at times and lightning. It was an active day on that live mega Doppler 7000 HPD. But you know what? Tonight things have calmed down, so we've got a nice break from the action this evening. As we head through tomorrow, maybe a different story. We'll get to that. But check out the latest imagery on our loop, heading to the last image showing a dry picture on that live mega Doppler 7000 HD. The last of the activity was right here. I'll zoom on in to the Wrightwood, down to the Crestline area, down towards San Bernardino was the last of the showers, and that moved up to the north and fizzled out. Even a little bit of lightning with that last cell a few hours ago. So a nice evening, a few clouds around, of course, and we're going to keep the temperatures on the cool side. By the way, when you have this type of weather, wow, look at this. Time lapse is fantastic. Running spring showing the heavy rain. There is a sheet of rain here through which you cannot even see any of that sun trying to bust through. So really heavy rain at times. Tomorrow we could see a little of that. I don't think it'll be as active as today, but the rain chance is in there over the mountains and the high desert for tomorrow afternoon, and then we're going to take it out. So let's talk temperatures. It's 69 at LAX. Temperatures are very cool. 68 Ojai, 71 LA and Long Beach, 72 in Burbank. Everybody was below average today for your high temperatures. And we still have this area low pressure that we are discussing. This is our weather maker. It is pretty much right over us, and that's giving us that onshore flow. It gives us that lift. It's going to be moving away, though, over the next day. I'll show you that here in a second. And that's going to take the rain chances and the cooler weather away. But look at this on the water vapor imagery. You see the spin right here? This is moisture in the mid and upper levels of the atmosphere. Really lets you see those circulations, and that is right near LA, and that's where we got that lift, and that's where we got the storms from. We don't have a ton of moisture in the air in place for tomorrow, so while we have a little bit of energy showing up on the future scan for Thursday, it's not going to be enough to create a ton of activity. So Thursday looks like an isolated shower or storm over the mountains, and then we take the activity out of the area for the rest of the forecast and keep things on the warm side. So tonight a slight chance there, 10% over the mountain areas, otherwise a mild to cool evening. 7-day forecast, that's how it's shaping up right here. LA Metro, Orange County, lower 80s for most of that 7-day, all the way through Monday. No rain for LA. We're going to keep a few clouds for the weekend, and then I'll take those out and have some nice sunshine for you next Tuesday and Wednesday. Valleys, IE, upper 80s, hit 90 finally by a Monday. The mountains, a 20% chance. You got one more day here, 20 to 30% chance of a couple of storms firing up. Temperatures around 70 to 71 degrees, and then you're finally back to a dry, pleasant forecast next Tuesday, Wednesday. High desert looks good as well on the warm side, but by no means hot, so enjoy the beautiful weather and watch out for any storms that might be out in the mountains. We'll keep you posted tomorrow on that right here as well. Back to you guys at the desk.
Jonathan, thank you.
You're welcome.
A patient being kept in isolation at Kaiser Permanente Medical Center in Sacramento is said to be at low risk of the Ebola virus. That's the word from state and federal health officials. The unidentified patient recently traveled to West Africa and has symptoms similar to those caused by the Ebola virus. Doctors sent a blood sample to the Centers of Disease Control, but it'll likely be several days before the results are in. For now, state health officials are addressing concerns about how they're prepared to manage any infections that might come into the state.
We've told healthcare facilities in those situations where you have travelers from those countries that may have symptoms that are compatible with Ebola, always exercise caution, isolate them until we can treat them, until we can diagnose them and make sure that we can rule out Ebola.
We have the infrastructure both in the healthcare facilities, in our public health system, in our general infrastructure with respect to sanitation that dramatically reduces the risk of Ebola transmission.
Officials are not saying which country the patient traveled to. Ebola has now claimed over 1,300 lives in West Africa. Fears of an American Ebola outbreak ramped up earlier this month when 2 USAID workers were infected in Liberia. They're being treated in an Atlanta hospital.
Up next, a popular brewer issuing a big beer recall. We'll tell you why.
Plus, a warning to Instagram users. The new scam now stirring up trouble on the popular photo-sharing app.
And a new tactic to crack down on crime in San Bernardino. Why police are putting pressure on some landlords.
A warning about scams on Instagram. The thieves target young fans who use Instagram to keep up with their favorite celebrities. The scammers post promises of quick bucks in the comment section. Many of the scams involve reload packs, a service used to refill prepaid debit cards with cash. The scammers ask for the security pin on the back and say they'll add money digitally, but you guessed it, what they actually do is empty the account. Last year, Americans reported losing $43 million in schemes involving prepaid products.
Heads up, beer lovers. One of the most well-known brews around is being recalled. The makers of Corona announced a voluntary recall after glass particles were found in some 12-ounce clear bottles of Corona Extra beers. Constellation Brands' beer division says defects were detected in certain bottles that could cause small particles of glass to break off and fall into the bottle. According to the company, there are no reports of injuries and only 1% of the bottles are affected.
If you love dogs and cute video, take a look at this. Happy Jif Day, everyone. Jif the Pomeranian is a national celebrity of sorts, appearing in ads, commercials, and now he even has his own day. So how does Jif feel about all this? The City Council honored the small star and gave him an official proclamation in honor of Jif Day. Jif moved from Chicago to LA to focus on his acting career, and it looks like he's on the rise with more than 1.3 million Facebook fans. It doesn't look real. It's so cute.
It does look like a...
Look at that. That's a real... it looks like a robotic doll.
Wow. Just perfect. So cute. We're updating our top stories next at 8:30.
Including new developments today, the investigation into this violent CHP confrontation, how the Highway Patrol is dealing with the officer.
Plus, the hunt for a freeway gunman who left a woman wounded in a car-to-car shooting on the 5 freeway.
Live from ABC7, this is Eyewitness News on LA56.
Our top story at 8:30, one day after the brutal beheading of a U.S. journalist by an ISIS terrorist, we're learning the Obama administration launched a recent mission to free American hostages in Syria, but failed to find any of them. This is Eyewitness News at 8:30 on LA56. I'm David Ona.
And I'm Giovanna Lotta. Tonight, officials are analyzing the images of Foley's executioner using a database of known terrorists looking for a match with his eyes, hands, and his voice, which has a British accent.
So now let's go to a live picture from Ferguson, Missouri, where at least for now, the streets are relatively calm for a second night in a row. And that is welcome news, not only for police, but also for the protesters who want to make their voices heard peacefully. U.S. Attorney General Eric Holder came to Ferguson today and met with community leaders. He told them he has put the Justice Department's most experienced agents and prosecutors on the Michael Brown shooting. Also today, a grand jury began hearing evidence to determine whether Darren Wilson, the police officer who shot and killed Brown, will be charged with a crime.
Wild weather, storms across parts of SoCal this evening, heavy rains, lightning, thunder, and even large hailstones hammered communities across the Inland Empire. Many roads were suddenly swamped, making for very slow going for evening commuters. Live Doppler 7000 HD tracked the severe weather as the storms built and the severe weather cut loose. Meteorologist Jonathan Novak is here with more on the day's wicked weather. Jonathan?
For some of us, it very much was that. And as we look at some of the images that we got today, check this out. Jason B. from Chino Hills caught on his camera what looks to be a little land spout, a little very, very weak tornado coming from this particular cloud structure here. So interesting weather today. It was all contained to the inland, far eastern areas, the mountains, high desert. This is the activity from earlier on, about 6 hours ago until now, and you see the latest imagery on the live Mega Doppler 7000 HD were dry. We did have hail, we had lightning, we had heavy rain. A closer look into Wrightwood, Crestline, San Bernardino. That was the last cell a few hours ago, fizzling out, and we just have some clouds to look at tonight. Temperatures are on the coolish to mild side right now, and tomorrow they'll be again below average, only 80 by noontime. When does it warm up, and when do the rain chances get out? Details in your 7-day forecast coming up in a few minutes.
All right, Jonathan, thank you.
You're welcome.
A CHP officer videotaped striking a woman alongside the 10 freeway has been removed from duty with pay. This as the Highway Patrol warns he is potentially facing serious charges. Eyewitness News reporter Miriam Hernandez has reaction from the victim and her attorney.
This viral video is the centerpiece of the civil case against Daniel Andrew, the CHP officer captured on a cell phone camera punching Marlene Pinnock. Today, Officer Andrew is one step closer to possible criminal prosecution. The video and statements by Pinnock are key evidence in the CHP's investigation.
It was just shocking with all this strength, looked like this way up from about to give him all he had.
Today,
I feel that he should be, the sooner the better. I want to be put in jail right away.
The CHP's use of force investigation is done. Its information and conclusions just handed to the District Attorney's Office. While the CHP is not disclosing details of its findings, a written statement says the results outline, quote, potentially serious charges for the officer, unquote. The CHP says immediately today, Officer Andrew's peace officer duties have been revoked, and he has been moved from desk duty to administrative time off. In other words, he is off the job completely, but still being paid. Pinnock's attorney, Carrie Harper.
I want some swift action. I want some people put in jail right now. And it shouldn't take all day long for Miss Lacey to go ahead and charge him.
The CHP says Pinnock was walking along the 10 freeway and defied the officer's orders to get off, that he was trying to take her into custody to get her away from dangerous traffic. The punches sent her briefly to the hospital, but it was for her mental health that doctors kept her.
I feel like I was the victim to say that I needed mental evaluation, and the bruises made me feel that I'm a woman. He just beat me like I was a man.
Today, activists who have been accusing the officer of excessive force are praising the CHP, saying, quote, the CHP's forthright response to the beating of Pinnock was a major breakthrough in that law enforcement agency. With due speed, recommended that criminal charges be considered against the officer that beat Marlene Pinnock, unquote. As for Pinnock's attorney,
the fact that it took this long, I couldn't be more displeased with how the commissioner has handled it.
No comment today from the officer's attorney. The CHP, meantime, says it has more work ahead related to this incident, and it may involve more training for its officers. Reporting from the newsroom, Miriam Hernandez, ABC7 Eyewitness News. A woman was shot while driving in her car in Atwater Village today. The 41-year-old woman was hit in the neck, torso, and arm, but she is in stable condition and her injuries are not life-threatening. The gunman is still on the loose. Police say the woman was on the 5 freeway near Colorado Boulevard when another car pulled up alongside her and someone opened fire.
When she was exiting, the suspect came up next to her vehicle and shot again on a number of times. Suspect then left the location without, we don't know which way he went.
Again, that suspect is still at large. For now, no word on a possible motive for the shooting.
We are learning more today about the suspects involved in the deadly police shootout after a car chase on the 110 freeway. The surviving suspect, 19-year-old Avel Joan Turks, was arraigned today. He's charged with 15 felony counts, including 6 counts of attempted murder of a peace officer. His accomplice, 37-year-old Andrew Maurice Jones, was killed in a gun battle with police. An officer was wounded in the shootout and is currently in stable condition after undergoing surgery on his leg.
A new tactic by the San Bernardino Police Department to crack down on crime. Today, police showed up at apartment buildings to check on plumbing, electrical, and other maintenance issues. Inland Empire Bureau Chief Rob McMillan explains how this could help fight crime in the city.
All that has to be changed.
Bad pipes, roaches, electrical issues. Tanisha Brock says the problems here are extensive.
They're finally starting to do stuff now because I've been complaining about it.
But besides that, San Bernardino police are also now involved. They showed up unannounced at the Edge Hill Apartments yesterday to inspect each and every unit.
Of course I was shocked. My human reaction was shocked, but then once I understood they were like trying to benefit us and help us, I was actually kind of ecstatic.
So why are the police involved? Well, they say there's a correlation between crime and poorly run apartment complexes.
Officers that are working the streets know that those poor apartment complexes, so to speak, those places that none of us would necessarily want to live because of the condition of them and then because of the way that they're maintained, tend to be kind of a harboring place for crime.
In fact, just last month, police were out here investigating a murder. As for their recent visit, they say they found well over 200 violations, plumbing issues, electrical issues. Just look at this mess.
These properties are essentially crime pockets waiting to happen.
And the city says they're going to get a lot tougher on these apartment complex owners than they have been in the past. If they don't make the required changes, they could eventually be forced to sell.
That's a last resort effort. We hope we don't have to do that. It's not our desire to do that.
Still, some aren't so sure that going after poorly run apartment complexes will make the city safer.
You can do whatever you want to the apartments, but this area is just a bad area. It's always been like that for years. I don't think anything can change that.
However, others say trying to improve living conditions at places like this one certainly can't hurt.
Yeah, it's a good thing.
If it look a little better, because if it look a certain way, people act a certain way. You know how it is.
In San Bernardino, Rob McMillan, ABC7 Eyewitness News.
Texas Governor Rick Perry has pleaded not guilty to abuse of power charges. He entered his plea in a court filing today. Perry waived his arraignment, which is set for Friday, and he plans to go to New Hampshire for a campaign event. The possible 2016 presidential candidate was indicted by a grand jury for vetoing funding for public corruption prosecutors. The veto happened after District Attorney Rosemary Lemberg, a Democrat, refused to step down when she was convicted of drunk driving. Perry insists that his actions were constitutional. Israel is vowing to continue the military campaign against Gaza after the breakdown of ceasefire talks in Cairo yesterday. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said the attacks will not stop until there is full security and quiet for Israelis. Residents in southern Israel were scrambling for shelter today as Hamas continued to fire rockets across the border. In Gaza, the funeral was held for the wife and infant son of the elusive Hamas military chief. His home was hit by an Israeli airstrike yesterday, but Hamas says he was not there.
Dramatic video of deadly mudslides near Hiroshima, Japan. Just take a look at the aftermath there. Rain-soaked hillsides came crashing down into homes, killing 36 people. 7 people are still missing. Rescuers spent the day searching for any survivors who may be buried in the rubble. There's concern there could be more slides because more rain is on the way.
Up next here at 8:30, could another robbery in Fullerton be connected to a string of robberies in the same area? The warning to residents.
Plus, a surprising lesson in insurance fraud. Authorities set cars on fire to make a point. Fullerton police are warning people there's a serial robber out there and he's very dangerous. There was a new robbery last night on the 1200 block of Crestview Drive. It's the same area where a number of other crimes occurred. They believe the same suspect is responsible for 7 robberies. In each case, the suspect breaks in, points a gun at the residence and demands money. The robber is described as around 6 feet tall and 180 pounds. He's been wearing a gray hooded sweatshirt and a bandana.
LA is a great big freeway. In fact, it's the car capital of the world. But with that also comes a lot of fraud that affects all of us who buy insurance. So today, 2 vehicles went up in flames deliberately to train investigators how to spot vehicle arson. Eyewitness News reporter Q McCrae has the story.
This explosion could actually benefit your bank account.
The LA area is somewhat the car capital of the world, and with that, unfortunately, comes a lot of insurance fraud.
And the rising number of vehicle arson fires is a huge issue. Southern California has the highest insurance rates in the state. This minivan and car were set on fire as a way to train insurance investigators.
But there's 2 components in diesel fuel that is never in gasoline.
Infinity Auto Insurance is teaching them the difference between an intentional fire and an accidental fire.
Accidental would typically come from an engine or something electrical, whereas intentional generally has some type of financial motive, which impacts all of us. If we can reduce the amount of insurance fraud, then insurance premiums might remain a little lower for everybody.
LA County firefighters tell us they can usually tell something isn't right immediately.
It's in the middle of the night in an alley or a hard-to-get place, and it's fully involved. There's nobody around. That raises some suspicions.
We'd absolutely appreciate anyone who has information relative to intentionally set fires of any kind, but also vehicle fires. We'd ask them to notify somebody.
In Pomona, Q McCrae, ABC7 Eyewitness News.
Children's Hospital Los Angeles today receiving a big donation. Costco Wholesale Corporation donated $10 million to help support the hospital. This is the largest single corporate gift in the hospital's history. The second floor of the hospital will now be named the Costco Wholesale Floor. The money will be used for research and training, among other things.
What's next for our wild weather? Jonathan Novak's complete forecast is up next. And by the way, Jonathan has some other skills.
It's easy to see why that everybody... Oh! Okay!
Okay, he didn't get his face wet there. Okay, then that's fair now. He's also good at getting wet, as you can see, and raising money for ALS research.
Give me that bucket. I'll do it right. And the Monet Davis Show continues at the Little League World Series against the hard-hitting team from Las Vegas. In just over 3 weeks, millions of people nationwide have taken the ALS Ice Bucket Challenge, raising money to help find a cure for the disease.
But the latest tallies may pleasantly shock you. With those details is our very own Jonathan Novak, who yesterday got that challenge of dumping ice water on his head by ABC7's weather graphics producer, Philip Wilburn.
The ALS Association says that this chilly charity challenge could be a game changer in the fight against Lou Gehrig's disease, also known as, of course, ALS. But when you look at the numbers coming in from the organization, it's easy to see why that everybody's... Oh! Okay! All right, that was the challenge. That's cold. That is cold. Let's take a look at the numbers, though, folks. So far, they received $31.5 million compared to $1.9 million during the same period last year. That money came from existing donors, but also more than 627,000 new donors to the association. That is a huge influx of money. Oh, okay. Well, wait. We did one. We did two. Okay, two's fine. All right. Anyway, with that boost to their budget, they say they're going to continue funding the priorities of research, care services, public policy. They say they're also going to be good stewards of that money and the environment, urging people who take this challenge to make good use of the water that they use and repurpose it, just like we're doing here on the grass. Now, I need to challenge a couple of people myself, so I'm going to go ahead and the inimitable Garth Kemp, you're up, baby. You're next. Jonathan Novak, ABC7 Eyewitness News. What's that? Oh, 3? Really? Yeah. 3? Oh. Got colder and colder.
I bet.
The last one had the most ice in it.
I like that you called out Garth.
Garth
deserves it.
Garth.
Jesus is not going to be happy. No, he's going to be good. That was fun to do that, and for a great cause.
You know, those numbers I had not heard before, so that was educational.
What
a creative way to tell us how this is working.
Well,
loved it.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
We had a lot of crazy weather today, and for some people saw some large hail for our area, saw some lightning, saw some very heavy rain as well. So let me show you some of that video. I've got some amazing time lapses to show you. I got one actually. Here you go. Hail coming down hard in Nuevo earlier today. This is from Danny Lee. Okay, there we go. Okay, had to stop for that sound. Sorry, guys. All right, that's from Danny Lee in Nuevo. We had inch-sized hail coming down to Menifee. That was around 9 this morning. From Linda Seablum, got out a tape measure showing how big the hail was. Wow. Storm triggering several power outages as well. Let's check out I got to say, this has to be one of the most beautiful time lapses I've seen. And I just want to get out of the way. Running Springs, the sun shining through what's left with the sort of thick cloud cover behind some of these storms was just fantastic. Okay, now, present time, let's focus in on what's happening tonight and tomorrow. Zooming in, the last of the activity around Victorville in that live Megadoppler 7000 HD from Crestline and Hesperia in Victorville that moved away. There's actually a little bit of a reading now showing up around Big Bear. We are keeping that 10% chance of rain in there for tonight, so if it plays out in any way, it's going to be like that, just a little light. Precipitation in the mountains. 71 right now in downtown. Nice evening. A little on the coolish side as it's been here the last day or so, and it's going to stay that way for a while. We've got a cool pattern ahead. 74 Santa Clarita, 69 Santa Monica, 73 Santa Ana. Why are we seeing this weather? The rain, the cool weather, the clouds. Area low pressure. And I slowed the radar down quite a bit here for you, the composite, to show you that we have this rotation around low pressure. It's counterclockwise. It just pulls that moisture right up into Southern California, up into the mountains, and you get the showers and you get the storms. Now that low is going to start pulling away, but I want to show you something else that's really cool. In the tropics, we still have Lowell and Karina, both tropical storms, and they're kind of drifting out in the middle of nowhere because this area low pressure I just showed you weakened the high pressure that was steering them around. So they're drifting for now. Once that low moves away, they'll start making a move, and Lowell by Monday will actually pull in the moisture from Karina, and Karina will be no more by Monday. So Lowell's a pretty wide storm, not that powerful, but pretty wide right now, winds of about 65. Okay, locally again, bounce back to Southern California. Temperatures are below average tomorrow. 88 Ontario, 90 Riverside. You get a big picture here that we are below norms for, as you look at the 7-day, most of that week. No rain in LA, a little bit of morning cloud cover. 83 Friday, Saturday. And about the same on Sunday, Monday. We'll warm up next week. High pressure tries to build back in a little and give us normal temperatures. Valleys, IE, mid-80s. upper 80s, and then finally into the 90s by Monday, but it's a nice forecast. It's pleasant. Cold in the mountains for the morning time. A chance of storms tomorrow, 30%, and then we're going to yank it from the forecast. Chance of rain in the high desert, just slim, 10%. Very, what you really can call kind of coolish tomorrow, 89 in the high desert, back into the 90s after that. Dallas has the latest on ABC7 at 11. Back to the desk.
Jonathan, thank you. Mo'ne Davis is kind of a big deal. The 13-year-old Little Leaguer from Philadelphia graced the cover of Sports Illustrated, the youngest ever to do so. And for tonight's game against Las Vegas, 375 media members were credentialed and 34,126 in attendance for this game. That's 9,000 more than at the Phillies game tonight. After giving up an early run, Davis strikes out the side to end the first inning. Davis tops 2 in the third innings, striking out 6. Second inning, though, she made one big mistake, and Dylan Cave takes advantage of a 2-run home run to left center, gives the kids from Las Vegas a 3-0 lead. Trailing 3-1, Philadelphia loads the bases, but Eli Simon lines out to second. Zach Hare makes the catch and throws to first for the double play. Las Vegas advances to the U.S. Championship game. Mo'ne Davis and Philadelphia take on Chicago tomorrow. To the Major Leaguers, a bad night in Boston for Angels ace Garrett Richards. Bottom of the second, Brock Holt with a grounder to first. Richards runs to cover first base, but he falls near the bag. Richards injures his left patella and taken off the field by a stretcher. The Angels rally from Garrett's injury and a 3-0 haul with a big fifth inning as they batted around, and Albert Pujols singles. It breaks the all-3 tie, and later in the inning, Howie Kendrick caps a 5-run fifth inning with the RBI single to right and a 6-3 lead. It was finally 8-3 the final. Angels now lead Oakland by a full game and a half. NFL former Heisman Trophy winner Johnny Manziel will not open the season as the Cleveland Browns starting quarterback. Manziel used an obscene gesture during Monday night's game against the Washington Redskins. That apparently didn't help his chances to be the starter. Manziel will be the backup to number 6 Brian Hoyer. Browns coach Mike Pettine says Hoyer was the clear leader from the beginning of training camp. Hoyer has played with 4 NFL teams.
More news straight ahead here at 8 o'clock, and ahead tonight on Eyewitness News at 11 on KABC, what we're learning about the mysterious selfies that ended up in the cloud of a burglary victim. Plus, Rick Springfield in concert for a very special cause, why he and other musicians are at the House of Blues tonight to help out a friend in need. These stories and all the late breaking news on Southern California's #1 late newscast. That's Eyewitness News at 11 on KABC. A cat in Texas has been put on a diet so he can be adopted. This tabby is so fat, he's 4 pounds from a Guinness World Record. Look at him. The SPCA of Texas says a family brought Snooks in to be euthanized last week. He weighed 35.5 pounds and couldn't even walk. Wow, the SPCA asked instead if Snooks could go to a foster family. He's now on a diet and exercise program. If Snooks gets down to 12 pounds, he'll go up for adoption.
That's 2/3 of his weight.
35
Poor guy.
pounds.
All right.
He must be uncomfortable.
Hope, wish him the best. Thanks for joining us for Eyewitness News at 8:30 here in LA56. Law and Order SVU is next on LA56.
Thanks for watching. Good night.